So, your professor stops mid-lecture, and he looks right at you, and he says, "What do you think about this?" Wait, what do I think? Or you show up at 2:01 p.m. for your 2 p.m. class and the instructor's already lecturing. Or maybe you get your exam back and it says 85%, and you're thinking, is that good? Is that bad? And then we've got office hours. Your professor says, "Oh, come to office hours if you have a question." Wait, what are office hours? So if you're an international student and you're taking courses at GCC, or even if these questions sound familiar to you, it happens. The rules might be a little bit different from your previous experience. Sometimes they're even the complete opposite of what you might have learned growing up. So today we're talking about navigating American college expectations when you're from somewhere else. I'm Loy from Online Learning, and you're listening to Study With Me. So welcome back to Study With Me. Today I'm joined by Jenny Weatherall. She is Genesee's International Student Specialist, and she works with students from all over the world who are navigating not just college, but college in a completely different culture than what they grew up in. So Jenny, thanks for being here. Could you introduce yourself for us?
Of course. Hi, everyone. Like Loy said, I'm Jenny. I've worked at GCC for 21 years, and for the last 13 of those years, I've had the privilege of working with our international students. I love every minute of it because I get to meet people from all over the world and learn about new and interesting cultures.
Oh, awesome. And this question is not one that I prepared you for in advance, but we're going to go off the map right off the bat. So what are some countries that our international students are from that people might not be expecting?
So not recently, but a little bit ago, we had two students from a teeny tiny island called Timor-Leste, and I had never heard of it when they came here. It's in Southeast Asia, and the fun fact that I always remember about these students is no snow whatsoever. They don't even have a word for snow in their language. So when they came here, one thing I had introduced them to was like, we have lots of words for snow. We have all kinds of snow. So that's probably like the most unique I've had.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, let's start with those questions that I started in the opening. So let's start with the professor asks you what you think about something. So for some students coming from some countries, and even for some of our K-12 students coming into college, I mean, this can be a bit shocking, right?
Oh, absolutely. In American colleges, your classes are a discourse. Participation is key. It's a requirement. You're going to get graded on it. It's part of being in the classroom. It's not your standard where the teacher's just rattling off all the information at you, you're taking notes, and then you leave. Not like that at all.
So the professors are really expecting you to ask those questions.
Yes. Dialogue and having an open dialogue in the classroom is key because that's where you can learn from each other. And the instructors want to learn from the students just as much as the students need to learn from the instructor.
Oh, that's fascinating. It's funny because we had Michael Gosselin on the show, and he was talking about how sometimes with some students he has trouble getting them to push back on what he has to say, and he really wants them to do that.
Yeah, in some cultures, like, you're supposed to agree with the instructor. They said something, that's what it is. That's not the case here.
Right. So you are supposed to push back.
Yes.
All right. So we talked a little bit in the opening about office hours, and I mentioned that because I think it's a thing that confuses many, many students, and that whole concept, it might not exist where they've been in education before. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, again, it goes with that open dialogue format that happens in the classroom. It continues outside the classroom. If you are struggling or you have questions or you don't understand something from class, no one expects you to understand it the very first second that you hear it. That's why faculty have those open office hours, so you can go talk to them one-on-one about anything that's going on with you in the class.
Right. And it's not like admitting weakness or something. Your instructor isn't going to hold it against you if you go to office hours.
Absolutely not. They'd rather you come and talk to them before a little teeny tiny, I don't want to say mistake or problem, becomes something bigger.
Right.
That you can't overcome at that point.
Right. It's okay. We can say problems on the podcast. This podcast is real. We say fail.
Nobody's perfect.
We say fail. We say problem. We say issue. We say oops.
Yes. This is a place where you're learning. And so learn from mistakes.
And then we fix those things and
Yep.
we turn it around. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how classrooms work in American college and some of the practical stuff that might trip a student up. Like, what does be on time really mean? I used that in the opening, 2:01 and your instructor's already lecturing. What's happening there?
So here in the U.S., when we say something starts at 2 o'clock, it starts at 2 o'clock. It's not going to start 15 minutes before. It's not going to start 15 minutes after. So I tell students, if you have to set up a laptop, if you have to get your notes out, get all set up, show up before 2 o'clock because your instructor's going to start talking right at 2.
Right. And that could be important too for our online students. Like if you have to get into a Zoom room or whatever, you need to boot up that laptop. You need to make sure it's working and turn on your camera and all those things and be ready at 2 o'clock.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So what about group work? So American classrooms, I mean, they have a very specific culture around group projects, and that might be different from other countries.
Yeah, it goes again, I'm going to probably keep saying it, that dialogue. They want students not to only learn from the instructors, from each other. Because when you have group projects, you're going to have people coming from different backgrounds with different perspectives on a topic. And that helps you learn, and it helps you also kind of prepare for the working world, which is a big thing here where you're going to have to work with people from all over the place. Right. And so this is kind of your first test at that.
Right. And so one of the things that I found interesting is I did a little bit of digging, and I was looking at grading scales. And so I mentioned, in the opening, getting an 85%. Is that good? Is that bad? Because in the U.S., 85% is pretty average, right? It's a B.
Yep,
and
that's
it's
a
average.
B grade.
But in other countries?
It's going to be all different. For my job, I look at high school transcripts from all over the world, and you won't believe it. There's all different letters, there's all different numbers, all different grading scales. So 85%, you're exactly right, that's a B. Because we score out of 100. So more like 65 and lower, that's an F. Mm-hmm. That's where we might say, hey, let's go to tutoring.
And then our letter grades ended up translating into these 4-point grading scales on top of that.
Exactly. So it's kind of, okay, I got an 85, which is a B, which then translates to a 3.0 on the 4.0 GPA scale. And just for reference, 2.0 means you're in good academic standing, you're doing great, keep it up.
Right. Anything above 2.0. And then, what is it, 3.5 and higher, I think, is President's List, Dean's List, Provost's List.
Yeah, depending on, yep.
Yeah. So all kinds of number scales going on here.
Yes.
All right. And navigating all of this this is hard enough for some of our K-12 students who walk in and they have never seen a lot of this before. But our international students might be doing it in a second or a third language. I remember sitting in tutoring once and talking with a student, and we were having this whole conversation. She's like, I'm sorry, English is my 6th language. And I said, wait a minute, did you say 6th? She said, oh yeah, 6th language. So that's a whole other layer of challenge. But we do have language support resources, right?
Yes. We have a fabulous tutor. Her name is Katie. Not only is she there to help you with writing your papers and doing all the things for class, but she does her own talk time, which is for international students where you can just come and talk, and I'm going to promo it a little bit. Okay. It's going to be Wednesdays from 11 to 12 in B260 starting on February 18th. So go, CKT.
Oh, nice. And so that's just a time to sit and chat and practice your English skills.
Yes. Okay. Yep, no judgment, no nothing. You just go and talk.
Okay. But students might also be able to practice their English skills just by, hanging out getting involved in some activities on campus?
Yes. So we have lots of things to do on campus. We have international students that are orientation leaders, that they help out. They're RAs, so they're resident advisors down at College Village. Tons of different clubs on campus, including my club, which is an international student organization. We always want people to join, and we talk and we go to events and we have fun activities to talk with people.
Nice. I've seen some of our international students too who are working on their English skills with our theater productions.
Yes. So theater actually gets a lot of students from Japan. They are in our theater program. They do really well. They join our dance team too, so they're very active and outgoing and artistic, and that's fantastic.
Wonderful. And I remember a few years ago here at the college, it's a good few years now, but we did Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was one of our productions, and I remember having to explain to some of the Japanese students why it was funny that his name was Frankenfurter. And we were talking about you're a hot dog. Because
yes.
It didn't translate.
Not everything translates. So sometimes you gotta, and I even do that with students. I'm like, do you know what I'm saying is? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, let me re-explain this, because this is obviously just here. It might even have been a U.S. thing. It could be just a New York thing. And like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's the New York accent, versus the Southern accent versus, the British English.
Oh, yeah, and Australian English as well. I had a Japanese student once who learned English in Australia, so she had an Australian accent when she spoke English.
Oh, I would have liked to have met that.
Oh, she was fantastic.
I would just love to sit and listen to her.
Yes.
So, lots of fun, things to do on campus to practice your English. And, worst case, you can just sit in the cafeteria and make some friends and hang out. Okay. And we also have some apps, too, don't we, that we let our international students use. I know Carrie was suggesting that we have the students look at Memrise.
Okay, I haven't heard that one. So that one I actually don't know. A lot of students used to also come with like their little translating devices. Mm-hmm. I usually tell students just double check with your instructor so that they know that's what that is before you just start using it in class. Right. But yeah, we have Google Translate. There's lots of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember some of those getting mistaken for calculators in math class because no calculators in math class. Well, it's not a calculator.
Just let 'em know.
Yes, no, it's a translator. Yeah, and translation has gotten so much better with AI. We may not be a big fan of AI in some classrooms, but it certainly can be a help to our international students.
Oh, yeah. Someday, I don't know if they're out yet, but they want to have, the AirPods that translate for you. Yes. I would love a pair. When they're ready and available, that would be awesome.
Let's get those out. Okay. So we have at GCC a number of students I know that start off as completely online students, and then eventually they come to the campus and they finish off their degree program or their experience with an in-person experience, and sometimes they still take online classes just because they're super busy, or maybe they're on the baseball team or what have you. But I would like to talk about that transition a little bit, the online to in-person transition, because I'm sure you see it probably more frequently than any other department on campus, save online learning. So talking about students who start college online and then they want to transition to being here in person. So let's start with, what does that process look like as a big picture?
The biggest picture, so if you're talking about everybody, it's a little bit easier for our domestic students because all we need from them in admissions is show us that you graduated high school, you completed a GED, you could take online or in person. Mm-hmm. So when they come here, the biggest thing is finding your way around, navigating. But admissions office, we can give tours, we can show you where to go. Mm-hmm. A little more difficult I don't want to say difficult, a little bit more work for international students because they have the visa and component where they have to get approved by the government to come here and study and be students here in person.
So what does that look like? I mean, like the visa process.
So first step is they talk with myself and Kate. Kate also works in our office with international students, and they send us all their documents. We got to see their passport. We have to see a bank statement that shows that they can pay for school here, because international students do not get financial aid at all. It all has to come out of pocket. High school transcripts, all of those types of things. We accept them, and then we give them a government document called an E20, which they can take to a visa interview. And then they have to sit and talk with a government official. Usually not very long, 5-10 minutes, and the government official will say yes or no. And in those 5 minutes, it's decided whether or not they get that visa, and then they can come and travel here.
Right. And then they get here. And then they get here. Where do they live?
So we're really lucky for our community college. We have College Village. So a lot of our international students can live on campus, which is fantastic. We also have some that decide to live off campus in local apartments around Batavia. Definitely can do that. And then we have a couple of wonderful ladies who do what's called a homestay, where they let an international student live in their house with them. They've been doing it for 20 years or more with having international students. So thanks for them, because that's another nice, more homey place for those students. So yeah,
Well,
any
that's
of those
wonderful.
places.
Yeah, I remember, and this was a few years ago, I think you and I had a conversation that I had a place that was for rent, and I was like, well, what if we let some international students go there, but it wasn't on a bus line.
That's the main thing, is because most international students, they're not going to have cars. You don't travel across seas with a car, or they might not have licenses, because if you're in big cities across the world, you're not going to need a license because you have public transportation everywhere, and Batavia doesn't necessarily have that. And the license in other places of the world costs a whole lot more money. So when they get here, they kind of get excited to learn how to drive and get a license, because it's a whole lot cheaper for them.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a considerable difference. But most of the students, and worst case, they can live in College Village, which is, we don't really call them dorms, but they're
Residence halls.
residence halls. Yes.
official.
It's a residence hall.
That's the official.
Yes, it's down at the bottom of the hill, and there's a walkway from here to there.
Yes.
And it's not very long.
Yes.
And that's where many students live, and they live in, they have the pod housing, I guess, now, where there's a central area with all the rooms around it.
Yep. So I always call that kind of the traditional old-fashioned college dorms, because that's what I always had, is where you have your bedroom and then you have to share the kitchen and the bathroom with everybody on your floor. They have the apartment styles with single bedrooms, and then they have the apartment styles with double bedrooms. So with that one, you got a roommate.
Ah, okay. It's still pretty nice.
Yes.
It's a good option.
Yes.
So what should students be considering if they're thinking about making that transition?
I mean, specifically for international students, I know it can be a little scary, especially if it's their first time, away from home, and away from home in a whole different country.
Yes.
That's not like, hey, I'm from Buffalo, now I'm going to go study in Rochester. It's a little different. It's a little bit bigger. Make sure you have the support back home. Mom and Dad, it's great because we have Facebook Live, you have WhatsApp, you have Zoom, you have Microsoft Teams. There's lots of ways you can talk with Mom and Dad back home, or whoever. So be prepared for that feeling, and that's where it's going back to find your people here, find your groups, find your friends, find your faculty members, all of these people that are here to help you here.
Yeah, it's going to be especially daunting if you don't speak the language all that well. I mean, there's a certain English score that's required to take classes here.
Right.
But it still written may be easier than conversational, right?
So some of that also depends on the country. I know, it always depends on the country. Our Japanese students, written, fantastic. Conversational, maybe a little bit more. But with our Latin American countries, probably because they're closer to America, their speaking is a lot usually better than the writing, because they learned how to English through speaking, not through writing.
Nice. So then they just need to learn, as Professor
grammar.
Goslin said last week, learn how to use a comma.
Commas, yes, lots of fun things. I mean, in Japanese, they don't have articles like the, and, so that's a whole new concept. They don't have possessives. I've learned all these things through the years, like all these different things that like you don't think about, but they have little small things you got to learn.
Radically different. So I want to go off the map and ask you a question.
Okay.
For a student, let's say a student is trying to go through the visa process, and let's say that they don't get through the first time. Is it possible to try again?
Yes.
Okay.
Usually, sometimes the consulate or the embassy will tell them to wait a certain period of time. We will always encourage them to, try again. If you get it denied 2 or 3 times, I mean, you can keep trying as much as you want, but at some point, it's probably not going to happen.
So for those students who get denied the first time, does it help them at all to take any online classes and maybe do well in those?
That's always an option. Some of the students choose to do that if they realize I'm not going to get a visa, but I still want to study something. I still want to do something with my time. We can always set them up with online classes.
Okay, nice. So this is the part where I say, those are awesome answers and has been really helpful. So what's something that, is there anything that you would like to share with us that we haven't asked yet? Or, your favorite funny story?
Well, the snow one was pretty good. Like, I tried to tell them, okay, we have slush, we have sleet, we have freezing rain. This is not a blizzard. This is a normal winter day. That's always
fresh
fun.
Powder.
One of our students who just graduated, some people might know him, Kaito. I love the story. He's a huge Buffalo Bills fan, so he always would come to my office and we would talk about the games, and he got to go to the last game in the stadium there. But he rode his bike all the way from Batavia to Buffalo.
Oh, wow.
Just to see the stadium. He didn't even have a ticket. I was like, oh my goodness. So our international students are fantastic. They get initiative and they go.
This is true. And then, well, for some of them, biking everywhere might just be the way that they're used to doing things.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, for those of you who may not be in the area, Batavia to Buffalo is what, about a 40-minute drive?
Yeah.
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 That he biked. Wow.
And back. So he got there, then he had to come all the way back.
Oh my, that's a lot. Well, that's eye-opening, and a lot of the things that you've shared with us are eye-opening. I think sometimes that when we have international students, we tend to think about the language barrier because it's obvious, but we don't necessarily think about the cultural barriers and about some of the expectations that we take for granted being an American college, and they may not, the things that may be completely new and different to them.
Yeah, exactly. So. And it's going to be different between each group of international students, depending on what country they're coming from, what continent. They each are going to face differences from each other.
Well, I'm certainly very glad that you and your team are here on our campus to help our international students to navigate all those things. And of course, we also have, we have some great instructors. Everybody has a success coach. If they're taking online classes, they've got online support. We've got our tutoring staff, library staff, lots of people to make sure that our students are successful. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And, if you're navigating a new country, a new language, just trying to figure out if it's okay to email your professor at 9 p.m., remember, you're not supposed to have it all figured out before you get here, right?
Yeah, and you can do those 9 p.m. emails, but just be aware that you might not get a response at 9:05 or 9:30. It's probably going to be the next day or so.
Well, and now I get to share with you, which I think is very apropos for tonight's topic, our mantra. We have a mantra on the podcast that I share with all of our guests.
Okay.
Our mantra is progress, not perfection.
Love that.
So, all right. Well, thank you for listening to Study With Me. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss new episodes when they come out. And we will see you next week.